remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome. And thank you for being here. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much. I respect your time, so thank you for choosing to be here. You have somehow summoned this information frequency-wise. There is a part of you that is seeking for something, and likely you will receive whatever that is for you through this transmission, okay? However it shows up for you, in what box and in what wrapping, that will be perceived by each individual very differently. My job as Joanna is to help you understand yourself as you are going through this process of ascension. Ascension simply means to rise up from something. When we rise up, we have a different point of view. And what's so good about a different point of view? Well, for one, we can see much broader, and our perspective is different. Once our perspective is different, we can make significant changes. Changes cannot happen without change of perspectives. At least they will not last. And we are in a process right now. We're going through this journey of ascension in order to reorient ourselves back to who we are and where we come from. In other words, if you are here listening to this material, then there is a pretty substantial part of you that understands that you are much more than a human. You are also a soul. But what is this soul thing? Okay, that's a whole entire conversation. As human species, we are rising to the occasion so that we can be of greater help to Mother Earth. So therefore, if you are here, and you are here to help raise Mother Earth's consciousness. And as Mother Earth rises up, if you will, because she's rising up, you are rising up with her. And this rise, if you will, is substantial. And it can seem very chaotic at times, okay? Which is why we are seeing in the world so much chaos. And it's about recognition of something that is, but is to be no longer. So if something is to be no longer, something has to be, okay? And we are in the practice of being, okay? We are beings being, having an experience. And this rising up, this ascension process will undoubtedly affect your being in this world. So my job as Joanna is to help you make sense out of this. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I would love for you to support this channel to help me grow the awareness of how to experience life from a much higher perspective. And if you choose to like or subscribe or watch the video from beginning to end, I try to make them shorter because the algorithm places videos based on all these different criterias. So if this information doesn't fit the criteria, it kind of stays on the bottom. And I, for one, as Joanna and my team, would love for this information to be more readily available. Okay, so if I can get your support in that, I would be tremendously, in fact, I am tremendously grateful as is, because you are here listening to this information, which means it gives me something to do, and I immensely enjoy what I do. So, but back to today's conversation about rising up. So humanity-wise, we are going through a magnificent process called ascension. Some people refer it as going from 3D to 5D. But what that really means is we are moving from a fairly low density, a fairly dense environment to a much lighter environment in terms of frequency. We are literally moving from denser frequencies to higher frequencies. Now, in order to move from one point to another, we have to leave something behind, right? So this process of ascension is really about leaving things behind, leaving things where they belong, generally in the past. Okay? And a lot of humans carry their past frequency within their now, which means they are reliving their past. And these are often generational patterns, which is why this video is titled Healing Ancestral Lines. Every single one of you is connected to someone. These someones are connected to someones. Those someones are connected to other someones. In other words, anything you do, how you vibrate, affects everyone connected to you. So if you are someone who carries a certain lineage, and within that lineage, within that ancestral lineage, there is a necessity to heal, let's say, your sacral chakra, and it has been, quote unquote, a problem for millennia, then you are now choosing to take care of that. You are choosing to heal, as we say, what has been hurt, unhealed. In other words, ascension is about, a lot of it is about healing wounds. Why? Because it is the wounds which we carry that lower our vibration. Okay? On the other hand, when we transform a wound into a much higher frequency vibration, we rise up. I am being asked to say these words specifically. Any form of manipulation, good or bad, is essentially manipulating one's frequency. Okay? Frequency comes in many forms. Spoken, felt, sang. Everything is frequency. In other words, in order for us to vibrate in the past, we have to be constantly reminded of our past, which means effectively we live in the past. But we are always moving forward. So if we are constantly connecting to our past and living our past and recreating our past, then what we are really doing is, in our future, we are simply recreating our past. But the past wants to be no longer. Why? Because it's lower vibration, heavier vibrating. What do we mean when we say past? Old, outdated, limiting concepts in terms of who you are, what you can do, what you can achieve, what you're capable of, and everything within it. Okay? So the process of ascension is simply that, recognizing your potential, recognizing your quote-unquote worth, recognizing your magnificence, recognizing your beingness beyond the structures of your human thinking and your human patterns. And as long as we cling to our old thinking and old patterns, we cannot experience something different. Okay? And living from the heart is very different than living from fear. I'm sure everyone knows that. Most would like to live from the heart, but many, if not most, live out of fear. Why? Because fear is constantly nurtured. When something is nurtured, something grows. If you nurture a weed, for example, though weed is very valuable, if you nurture weed, that weed is going to grow, it's going to get stronger, it's going to take nutrients from other types of plants. Okay? Now, in order to get rid of the weed, if you will, you have to look at the roots. You have to take care of the roots of the weed. You can't just kill it by cutting it above the ground. You have to take care of the whole thing. You have to dig out the root. And when we say root, we are referring to, quote unquote, the problem, what the problem really is. So the world is now trying to figure out how to solve world problems by identifying what is a problem and looking at these problems within ourselves. In other words, the outside world is a representation of the inside world. So if we are in experience of a lot of chaos, there must be a lot of chaos happening on the inside, because the outside is the reflection of the internal. As above, so below. As below, so above. In other words, to change our world, we have to dig inside. Okay? Inside is where healing happens. Inside is where change happens. Anything on the outside is the effect of inner change, or the symptom of inner change. So if we are, for example, unhappy as an idea, we have to look at the source of our unhappiness. What is the source of our unhappiness? Because if we cannot deal with the source, we're going to have this weed that constantly takes up space in our garden. Okay? And as we go through this process of ascending, if you will, or rising up, we are literally walking away from old to new, and thus experiencing a lot more freedom, a lot more emotional freedom, a lot more freedom. Because most of us are free on the outside. There are some that are not, but most are. But we often don't feel that freedom on the inside. In fact, we feel stuck and imprisoned. Okay? That's because this is the emotional state that we are in. But our emotion is not who we are. And through the process of ascension, we are beginning to understand that we are not the emotion that we are experiencing. Emotion is part of our current life, and it is experienced a certain way, but the emotion itself is not who you are. So, for example, if we are feeling on an emotional level that we are less than, that does not mean that we are less than, we're just feeling that way. In other words, the truth is so much bigger than what we are feeling. But we feel what we feel, and we believe that's the truth. So, in order, for example, to express our bigness, we have to first understand what is stopping us from expressing that bigness. What is the source of us not expressing our bigness? What's the point of that? The point of that is higher level understanding. How you understand in terms of how your mind works will be reflected on the type of life you live and experience for yourself. Your mind will help you experience different life for yourself. How? By changing your mind. Literally, you're changing your mind. You're in the process of changing your mind. And your mind is very powerful. So, we are moving to the space of a lot more opportunities, but it may seem like that is not what's happening at all. In fact, the only reason why we're not seeing this happening is because everything is clouded. There's a lot of cloud in the air. It's hard to see. But just because it's hard to see something doesn't mean that something isn't there. It's just hard to see. So we might be having problems perceiving our future. What is that supposed to look like? Okay, well, we're not going to know that yet because we need to first take care of our minds. We haven't created it yet. We create our world. You create your own world. You're that magnificent. You're the creator. You're a very, very powerful creator. Ascension allows you to see that. Now, whether you accept it, whether you like it or don't like it, that's up to you. 100%. Whatever you do with it or not do with it, that's up to you. You get to decide. So by ascending, by rising up, we are able to perceive a lot more choices for ourselves, choices we haven't seen before, so that we can decide differently. What does it mean to leave your past behind? It simply means to not longer be ruled by your past. If that happened to me, then I expect that to happen to me again. No. I mean, of course, certain things will be that way. Night always is followed by day. Okay, that's just the nature of the reality we live in right now. But just because someone has hurt you in the past does not automatically mean that they're going to hurt you in the future. Not only that, you absolutely might get hurt in the future, but you may take this hurt as something more than just a hurt to your ego. You will take it as something that is powerfully valuable, something you learn from. So your expectation changes. Everything changes when your expectation changes. If we expect there to be war all the time, well, then our expectation has to come true. Otherwise, what's the point of expectation? If you don't expect something to happen, then why do you expect it to happen? It cancels each other out. If you're trying to build yourself something, but there's a part of you that says, I can't do it, you're not going to build it. You're going to try to build it, but you're going to give yourself every chance you have to self-sabotage because you believe you can't do it. But what if you're not even aware of the idea that you believe you can't do it? Then what? You can't rise higher. So this is about opening up our eyes. Not our physical eyes necessarily, our internal eyes. We are looking at ourselves as we go through this process of ascension or rising up. And sometimes we look at things and they're hard to see. Look at it anyway. Because when you look at something rather than looking away, you're likely to find treasure. Sometimes seeing the thing you don't want to see ends up being the biggest blessing in your life. Okay, so it's about redefining our expectations we have of ourselves and our world. If you are expecting to fail, if you are expecting yourself to fail, you know what you're going to do? You're going to prove yourself right. We are beginning to be aware of this power that we have to create something, albeit unconsciously, but something that's very powerful. You are a creator. Nothing more, nothing less than that. You're human, but you are a creator. You create every moment of every day you live. And then you create past your human life. You're always a creator. That's something that never, ever, ever ceases to exist. You do not cease to exist to be a creator. So we are in the process of realizing we are our own creators. We create life. Life doesn't just happen. Something about Darwinian. Life doesn't just happen. It's not about good or bad. It's about seeing the bigger picture. It's about realizing how we make things happen. How we make things realized. How we make things real. We make things real by what we believe. So what you assume about yourself is your belief system, and you will live that out. If you are not happy with yourself, you are essentially in a relationship with your own unhappiness, and that unhappiness is always going to be, that unhappy aspect of you is always going to need some nurture. It'll need to be nurtured. That's how it stays alive. So, understanding how we nurture our unhappiness, realizing that we nurture the things we don't like. It just goes beyond our level of awareness. When you nurture something, whether you are aware of it or not, it grows, it becomes stronger. Thus, when we nurture our fears without even realizing that that's what we are doing, we are effectively feeding our fear more fear. That's making it stronger, not weaker. Okay? Fear is there to not make us stuck, but to help us overcome something. If you think of fear as something that you are here to overcome, you're going to struggle a lot less with it and against it. Fear is part of life. You fear change? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, change always happens. You cannot stop change from happening. It's called evolution. Energy always flows. Okay? Even if you don't want to flow on an energy level, you're always flowing. You can't really be stuck per se. You may feel stuck, but you're not stuck. The only thing that's holding you back is generally you. It's about realizing how we hold ourselves back and becoming very detailed at seeing, oh my God, this is how I hold myself back. Oh my God. The moment you have that realization, you have the choice of not doing it. Don't hold yourself back. Why do you hold yourself back? Happiness is a state of being, but it's also an outcome. An outcome of something that we are doing, something that we are being. In other words, if we are trying to find more happiness, then we can choose to just feel happy, which, if that's the case, nobody would be looking for happiness. They would just choose to feel happy. In fact, that's how happiness works. Now, as easy as of a concept as it is, it's not as easy to practice in real life. Okay? Well, how can I be happy? I'm not getting what I want. Well, how do you know? You may not be getting what you want right now, but you don't realize how much you need it in order to grow. That thing that you're not liking is helping you realize something about yourself. You're not seeing that as value. You're just saying, I don't like it. You're not supposed to like it. You don't have to like everything. Not liking something is part of you being a human being. It's allowed. Don't like something. It's okay. Don't fight against it so much. I don't like what I'm experiencing. Are you experiencing? Yes. Don't fight it. Don't expect that you keep experiencing this over and over unless you want to, but don't fight it. There's no point fighting something that you are in the middle of and you can't stop it. What if I want to stop it? What if stopping was a bad idea? What if you have to go through it? What if you have to go through this exchange of energies that you are experiencing, that you are deeming making you unhappy? What if one of the reasons why you are here is to experience that? Because during that process, you end up overcoming yourself. You overcome yourself in the process. You begin to realize that you are more than what you think and who you deem yourself to be. Okay? Sometimes the things we like the least give us the greatest understandings. And when we understand things differently, it opens a whole bunch of different doors. It allows us to manage our energies differently. Having choices is a big deal. So you may feel like you don't have a lot of choices or options. There is a lot more choices or options. You're just not able to see that. Why? Because everything is foggy right now. Things are quote unquote falling apart. They're supposed to, they're meant to. That's the whole idea behind it falling apart, so that it is no longer. So that we leave things in the past where they belong. The good ones, yes, let's carry forward. But the ones that are limiting, leave it behind. The fear of abandonment, don't hold on to it anymore. It limits you. Leave it behind. Let it be. Don't assume it's going to happen again. So let's go through 3 piles. Each of these piles are meant to give us a message with regards to healing ancestral lines, ancestral lineages. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. If you are choosing pile number 1, let's see what we have for you. By the way, all the tools I'm using today are all divination tools. I'm not using any quote-unquote tarot cards. We have this image. I specifically was drawn to this deck because it's purely visual to me, pure intuition. Okay, the first things I'm being drawn is orange. Orange, of course, is the sacral chakra. Okay. How we love ourselves often depends on how we experience being loved. In other words, if we had an experience of not feeling loved, that will affect the experience we have with ourselves in terms of self-love. If you have grown up in an environment where you felt emotionally neglected, you will have a tendency to emotionally neglect yourself. In other words, you will prevent yourself from meeting your own needs. Pile number 1, you're not meeting your own needs. Basic needs. I'm not talking about food, shelter, and things like that, but you're not meeting your basic emotional needs. Okay? The structure of your needs has to be looked at, whatever that means to you. You are in a prison of your own making. So in the past, somebody created this prison for you. You walked into this prison because you didn't think you had any other options or choices. It was unconscious. But now you are in your own prison. You are effectively keeping yourself stuck in your own prison. Okay? Your own voice limits you. This is what I just heard. Give me more. You use your own voice to diminish yourself. You use your own voice to diminish yourself. So here's the question. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to purposely use your voice? And your voice is powerful. Okay? Why would you choose to consciously, on purpose, use your own power to diminish yourself? Chances are you're not going to come up with a really good answer. I mean, good is relative, but you're not going to come up with a good answer. Here's why. You wouldn't do it normally if you had the choice. You wouldn't diminish yourself. Unless it was just for fun, and then you kind of give that up, because who wants to feel diminished? Who wants to feel low about themselves? Do you get what I'm saying? Yet you do it to you all the time. Ask yourself the question, why? Does it make you feel better when you put yourself down? No. Does it make you open up to the world and say, yes, world, show me the way? Or does it make you hide and limit your potential? It is the latter, I have to say. Okay? Strengthening your own ego takes courage. So I'm going to look into strengthening your own ego. What does that mean? Your egoic structure is very soft right now. What it means is that it needs a lot of tender, loving care. Your inner child, let's use that analogy, is very afraid of not being loved. As far as I'm concerned, that's humanity's wound. Okay? Pile number 1, there is some looking into around fears of rejection, fears of not being loved. Okay? And I think it's probably going to apply to most people anyway, regardless of pile, but this is specific for pile number 1. It is referring to chakra number 2. It is also connecting to the idea of abandonment. Okay? So these are your ancestral lineages. So chances are that in your lineage, there is a heavy energy around fear of abandonment. Okay? Perhaps one of your parents was abandoned. Perhaps you felt abandoned. But the reason why this is presented is because you are in a position to clear this lineage once and for all. In other words, you can put a stop it right now in terms of carrying that fear forward. It's up to you to do that right now. It's not demanded of you, but this is one of the reasons why you are here in a human form, to do just this, to let that go, because it will be affecting future generations. Okay? So not only are you helping yourself, you're helping those before you, because remember, you're connected, and you're also helping those who will come in front of you, including your future self, so that when you come back, and I know some of you will say, I'm not coming back. I know that's what your human mind thinks. When you're out of your human mind, you have a very different perspective. Your future self no longer has to deal with this, okay? Yes, it's worth it. I just heard someone say it's not worth it. Oh, yes, it's worth it. Trust me when I tell you, healing work, as hard as it can be sometimes, it is absolutely, absolutely worth it. The question is this: are you willing to go through the struggle and through the temporary discomfort of facing it before you see the incredible results of you facing it in the future? That's what you need to ask yourself. That's the question you want to ask. It's not if it's worth it or not worth it. Yes, it's worth it. It's, in fact, it's more than you can imagine. But the way you imagine yourself to be is kind of here. It's not here, right? Remember, you have a tendency to put yourself down. The second card is called Regeneration in reverse. So all this is telling me, as per my own intuition, is that there's an opportunity for you to rebirth. You are in an energy of rebirthing, but either something is standing in the way of you doing that, and I'll ask for more information, or you're not wanting to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. Maybe this is these attachments, the ancestral line things. Maybe that's what you don't want to deal with. Maybe you're saying, I can't deal with this right now. If it's not right now, then when? Here's why. It stands in your own way of achieving your potential. It stands in your way. But I'll say it differently. It's not that it stands in the way. You stand in your own way. A part of you that's terrified of not being loved, of being abandoned, that part of you stands in your own way. Why? Because it's trying to keep you safe. If you're trying to constantly keep yourself safe, and that's your focus, of course, everyone needs safety. I'm not talking about that. But if you're in relationship, you're not feeling safe, you're not going to open up. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to feel safe in the world. When you don't feel safe, you're not going to trust, because we don't trust when we don't feel safe. Pile number one, safety, trust, abandonment. Those are some of the ancestral lineage themes you might want to look at addressing in this life. Okay? It's very important for you. Of course, if you choose not to do it, it's up to you. I believe that you're listening to this information because some part of you summoned this information. And of course, what you do with it is absolutely up to you. Make sure you find someone who's knowledgeable in healing ancestral trauma. Make sure you get their input in terms of how they work with that. Okay. I just heard you can believe in magic, because I absolutely believe in magic. But things are not just magically taken away from you. If somebody says, oh, come to me, I'm going to just wave a wand and I'm going to magically take all your problems away. That's not going to happen, because that's them taking responsibility for you. First and foremost, heavy karma around that. But it's generally not how it works. You have to be involved in the process. There is no other way. So you can do to healers, you can go to people like me. They will hopefully take you through a process where they will help you realize yourself. They will not do it for you. That's not going to happen. Okay? And yes, it is hard work. It is hard work. Okay? Don't be afraid of hard work. I mean, most people who listen to this, they work hard. They're hard workers. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have that quality. Because if you were quote unquote lazy, you wouldn't want to know more about yourself. You wouldn't want to know how to improve your life or the planet. You are doing that right now. This is what you're doing. You're looking for ways to quote unquote improve yourself. Okay? Not that you need improvement. Okay? But improve quality of life. Okay? Last but not least, you have the energy of the light. And I'm going to read this to you in a moment. Substantial numbers, because those are indicators of the energy. 1 is new beginnings. 9 is letting go. Okay, so by letting go of the old, you are automatically starting a creation of something new. It's if something old ends, that doesn't just end, something else begins. Okay, so as we are leaving things behind, we'll be experiencing new things. Okay, notice there's a lot of orange and yellow here. So I guess, again, the emphasis is on the ego and the sacral chakra. And of course, if you don't feel safe, it's going to affect your ego, how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. Okay, I, as Joanna, with my team, do not banish ego. I believe ego is beautiful. Ego allows me to experience myself as Joanna. It's about having ego in check. It's about the relationship with your ego and not letting ego be you, or you become the ego. Okay, that's not balanced. But ego as a concept, it's beautiful. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this experience. It allows you to experience individuality. Okay, it's very beautiful. Okay, 1 and 9 comes to 10, which is an end of a cycle. To me, end of cycles are equivalent to the idea of karma, letting go of karma. We're all are unhinging from karma, from all our old karma. Pardon me, not everybody, but a lot of people. Okay, those who are choosing to, and sometimes you're not even conscious of the choosing. Your soul is choosing. Okay, so that's what I have for you. Oh, let me read this to you. Yes. The frequency of the light supports our capacity to create and experience feelings of intense joy and happiness. The more delight we feel, the more delight we evoke in others. The more delight we feel, the more light we evoke in others. By helping yourself, you're helping us too, because we're all connected. So you have, by helping yourself, you're doing a big job. Okay, kudos to that. That's what I have for you. Pile number 1. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. All right, pile number 2. We are keeping with the theme of healing or clearing ancestral timelines, ancestral lines. The first card we have is, well, this. What I get here is so above as below. So above as below. I also get the yin and yang concept. I also get the word being overshadowed. So I'm going to tune into that overshadow. You are living in somebody else's shadow. Whose shadows are you living behind? Because I literally see a shadow in front of you, and this shadow blocks you. It blocks your light. That's a metaphor. It blocks you from seeing clearly. It blocks you from seeing the bigger picture. Whoever this person is or was, this person was trying to keep you safe. Okay, it feels to me like a father figure. So if maybe you live in the shadows of your dad, okay? And what I'm getting here is the dad being a responsible person to care of his child the best way he knew how, but in the process, he ended up overshadowing his child. So even though it was done out of protection and out of love, it created a limitation in the child, which is you. Okay, and the limitation is this: I can't do this. I can't do this. It created a limitation where you begin to believe about yourself that there are some things you can't do. I can't do this. You're skewed to think that you can't do something. If that's the case, you will have a tendency to put people on pedestals. Okay? Other people can do it better than you. No, other people just make different choices. Okay? And, better or worse is relative. Could be two different things to two different people. Not being enough also comes up. So, perhaps one of your ancestral lineage lines is the idea of overprotectiveness. Someone being overprotective, and in playing the role of being overprotective, they are satisfying their needs because it's their karma. Okay, their overprotectiveness has little to do with you. It has everything to do with them, but they were not seeing it that way. And it acts as a limitation to you. Okay, so somebody was overprotective of you, and that acted as a limitation on you. Okay. How do you perceive yourself when you think of your dad, like in relationship to? So whoever this applies to, there's a male being overshadowed by a male. Okay. For some of you, this person who overshadows you, or you feel overshadowed by, actually doesn't believe that you can do things. But it's not because he thinks that you're not capable. It's because he does not believe that he can do it. So he automatically assumes that you can't do it. Okay. So there's a projection of being unable to do something or to do something well. Doubts. So you are overshadowed by someone who likely had their own doubts. Okay. And the reason why you're not able to see clearly right now in terms of your future is because you need to face the part of you that feels overshadowed by whoever this person is, because that part of you needs healing. Okay. And what I'm hearing is, I am enough. So pile number 2, there is a theme of feeling like you're not being enough, or like you're not enough, or you won't be enough, or whatever you do, it's not enough. There is that kind of a vibe. Okay. Now, because this is ancestral, you will notice that we're talking ancestral lines. So this has been carried forward from other ancestors. So it's in your lineage. Okay, the overshadowing and the worth and value, that's a shadow from many lineages. Oops. Okay. Worth, thank you. Worth. So if you have issues with worth, likely your dad or your mom or both had issues with worth. People that gave them life likely had their own issues of worth, and people around them, and it just went on and on and on and on. Okay. You have an opportunity to move on. In fact, literally, it says time to go. Okay. The number 4 and 5 represent letting go, literally, for me as Joanna. Okay. And I don't know if you can tell, but you'll notice that there is a door right here, but you can't really see it very clearly. Nonetheless, this being, and I believe it's a she's moving towards it. Even though she can't see clearly, she's moving towards it. So this is pile number 2. It's about facing your fears in order to create your dreams. Okay. So 4 and 5 is letting go. 4 to me represents an idea of building brand new solid structures. So as we are experiencing the chaotic energy in the world, it's because things are things are being torn down in order to rebuild. So we're not at a rebuilding stage right now. We're at the stage of tearing things down, okay? Creating space, okay? You are in that space right now. Things are falling apart or being torn down, including internally. Some of you may not know who you are right now, okay? Or your belief systems are changing drastically. And some of you are wondering, am I going crazy? Okay. That's because your internal clock is changing. You are internally shifting on the inside, and that's going to be reflected on the outside eventually. Okay, but the lesson around overshadow, worth, I can't do it right, or I can't do it. Those are themes that are ready to be let go of. Okay. 5 represents change to me. So to me, this speaks of changes around your structure. Not only your structure on the outside, you depend on structures, but also on the structure on the inside. Okay. So you might actually be experiencing a bit of a chaos in your life right now. Totally makes perfect sense. Okay. Your keyword is shadow. Shadow. As far as I'm concerned, that should be everybody's keyword, but your keyword is shadow, okay? If you can identify the part of you that holds you back from whatever it is that you are wanting, see if you can find a way to communicate with this part of you rather than just pushing it aside and just keep doing the same thing over and over again, because there is an opportunity for you to meet, quote unquote, your other half in order to help you understand who you really are and who you are becoming every moment of every day without realizing that this is what you are doing. Okay? That part of you, if you will, wants to show you how you create your reality. But you have to be willing to open, and you have to be open and be willing to listen. If you don't want to listen, then it's not going to work. Okay? You are often, there's a conflict between internal and external dialogue. Like there's a lot of voices on the outside, and there is a dialogue happening on the inside. And it feels very confusing, because when I'm tuning into you with all these voices, I don't know who to listen to. I don't know what's right information for me. So you might actually be experiencing moments where you have all this information, but you don't know what to do with this information, or you feel like you don't have any information. You feel lack of information. And when we have lack of information, because we have a tendency to grab onto things, right? When we don't have information, we can't grab on anything. So you might be actually feeling a little bit unsafety right now. Unsafety, okay? But the ideal here is to use this feeling of unsafety in order to dig out something that wants to come up and be let go of, okay? I keep hearing patience, patience, patience. I feel it's the obvious, have patience with yourself. But I feel like some of you have patience. You are looking after your own patience, okay? Keep going. When patients come to you for advice, do you tell them what to do and then expect them to do it? Or do you suggest and trust that they're going to do what they're going to do? I'm supposed to illustrate that for you. As if to say, you can't control an outcome, especially if it includes other people. That's because you are not the only one in that equation. There's more aspects to that equation than just you. So you can't effectively, quote unquote, control an outcome because you are not the one responsible for the outcome, or you're not the only one responsible for the outcome. Okay? There are other aspects that are responsible for the outcome. Okay? You have to trust in yourself in order to trust the outcomes. If you don't trust yourself, you're not going to trust in the outcomes that you want. Okay? Trust is a big one, pile number 2. Not trusting yourself is not an option right now. And in fact, you trust something. You trust something. Even when you say, I don't trust anything, that's something. You don't trust anything. Okay? What does that feel like when you don't trust anything? Besides, it's not true. It's impossible. Of course you trust something. You trust many things, plenty in fact. You trust that you're going to get up tomorrow, that your feet are going to hit the floor. You don't even think about it, you trust it that much. Okay? If there's any unresolved trust issues with fear attached to it, then it's something you need to learn how to let go of. Okay? Whether it's trusting yourself, trusting other people, trusting that opportunities will come to you, and knowing that they will in their own time, perhaps when the time is right. Okay. Last but not least, you have the crown chakra. 7 stands for 7, potentially July. To me, I just hear the word recognition. Okay. So for some of you, the number 7 signifies, it's like you are on the verge of seeing yourself anew. You're on the verge of seeing yourself anew. But this is not really new. It's actually ancient. You are just revealing that part to yourself. How are you revealing it? By exposing it, by giving it light. By taking off the layers, okay? By taking off the layers of forgetfulness. What makes us forget who we are? Our beliefs, our understanding, our ideas. Well, number 2, your ideas about you are changing right now. That's big. You cannot possibly leave something behind and move on without having some change of thought or idea. I'm hearing that can't happen. My brain is computing this right now, but it can't happen. Okay? In other words, in order for things to change, your ideas about that thing have to change. The frequency of the crown chakra, the violet flower of life, supports our spiritual connection to the universe and our ability to transmute negative energy into light. Precisely. By releasing the old, you are effectively exposing more of your light. That, for one, is going to make you feel lighter. Lighter on your feet, lighter in your body, lighter in your mind, lighter in your heart. You're not going to feel as heavy. They're saying sacral chakra is where most of your heaviness comes from, sacral. And that was prevalent in pile number 1. So you might want to look into pile number 1. Sacral is really pulling on your energy. There's some unhealed trauma around emotional inconsistency, back and forth. So that would be lack of stability, inner stability, which will affect our safety. A little bit of chakra number 3, but predominantly what I'm getting is chakra number 2 is pulling your energy down. So if you are connecting with this or resonating with this, just find someone to deal with it accordingly. Okay. Of course, if you feel drawn to the work I do with my team, this is what I specialize in, of course. Okay. Okay. The rest of the world needs you just as much as you need the rest of the world. And I said, for what? And I just heard, what else? Evolution of humanity. You are here to be part of this evolution. You see all the interconnectedness, okay? Everything is connected. We're connected to the stars, we're connected to the sun, we're connected to the moon. We're certainly connected to other people. We just don't think of it that way because we don't see ourselves as vibration, as energy. We think ourselves as something solid, something individual, and something separate. We're not separate. We are at a density where we perceive ourselves as separate, but we're not separate. Okay? We're not solid, we're light. And I know that's hard for the mind to grasp. I know as Joanna, I sometimes go, huh? A little bit beyond my pay grade. But this other part of me totally gets it. Okay? Everything is in motion. Nothing ever stands still. So if you feel stuck, it's impossible. You may feel stuck, but you're not stuck at all. You may just not be moving at the fast pace that you want to be moving, but that's just the nature of how it is right now. Breathe through it. Move through it as best as you can. Try not to fight it. Try not to resist it. Okay? Understand what from your point of view makes you feel stuck. Okay? Look at the feeling. What's annoying you? What's not going according to your plans? What if your plans are going through an upgrade? What if your entire plans go through an upgrade? And that's what's happening right now. You're getting upgraded. Okay? So the stuckness, if you will, is you literally, not digressing, but what's the word I want to use, please? Pausing, so that this new energy has time to integrate into yourself. This is often when you start feeling headaches, pressure type headaches. As you're being upgraded, you are also, you're becoming a higher vibratory being. And that takes some getting used to, okay? So energetically, you might be feeling like there's a lot of chaos going on, but it's actually, it's not chaos, it's an upgrade. Okay, so if you're feeling stuck, also know it's part of this quote unquote upgrade. You are retreating, thank you. You're retreating for a moment so that quote unquote nothing happens, which is impossible. Things are always happening, but not happening to your liking perhaps, or as fast as you want. But that's just giving you time to integrate these energies so that you can more profoundly step into the next experience. Okay? Nothing is a waste. And they're emphatic about it. No thing is a waste. Everything is valuable. Even your stuckness is valuable from a higher perspective. Okay? For one, you understand what stuckness feels like. If someone comes to you one day and says, oh my God, I feel so stuck. If you never felt stuck, you wouldn't understand the person. You wouldn't have a common bond. On the other hand, someone comes to you and says, oh God, I feel stuck. You're like, oh my, you know what? I totally get it. Makes that person feel validated. Makes that person feel, I'm not doing this alone. There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, it's very valuable. It's all how you look at everything. So that's what I have for you, pile number 2. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. All right, pile number 3. Let's see what we have for you in terms of healing your ancestral lines or lineages. The first thing I get is coming out of hiding, but you're having a hard time right now. You're barely, quote unquote, trying to tread water. Okay. This has to do with a personal situation. It doesn't feel like work related. It feels like a personal situation, though I guess it could be work related. There is information that you are receiving in your meditations that you are not acting on. So for some of you who meditate and you receive information, valuable information, you're like, okay, that makes sense. You're not acting on it. The question is why? Why are you not acting on something that has been given to you precisely because you asked for it? By the way, nobody feels rejected. There is no judgment. But you keep asking and you are being given, but you're not acting on it. Why is that? And by the way, I'm not questioning you. That's my team kind of throwing things in. By the way, nothing that you do or don't do is deemed as good or bad or wrong or right. There's no, where this energy comes from, there's no judgment. It's just an amusing experience. Okay? So there's zero judgment here on anything you do, don't do, choose not to do, don't choose to do, and everything in between. Okay? You're the biggest judge of yourself anyway. Are you? Are you your biggest judge? And if so, okay, when you judge you, what does that do for you? When you judge you, what does that do for you? When I say judge you, I mean in terms of being judgmental. That's a lower frequency than a discernment. I'm not talking about discernment. You should be discerning. What judgments do you hold about yourself and why? For example, if you have been led to believe that you are somehow an irresponsible person, ask yourself the question, am I an irresponsible person? If yes, how does that serve you? How does being irresponsible serve you? Again, the ego will say, it doesn't serve me. No, it has to serve you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this energetic exchange. It would not be happening. You wouldn't be part of that experience. It is absolutely giving you something in return. For example, when you feel bad about yourself, that does something to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. When you feel bad about yourself, it keeps you stuck. Okay? It keeps you stuck. When you feel bad about yourself, it keeps you stuck. It doesn't help you elevate yourself. It pulls you down. Okay? But what if you're used to that? What if you're used to that feeling? What if you're used to that vibration? For you, that's familiar. That's how it serves you. It serves you because it's familiar. Not because it feels bad, because certainly you don't want to feel stuck, but it feels familiar. So on some level, it feels good. I know it's a psychological fuck-up, excuse my French, but that's how it works. It serves you. Recognize how it serves you. And then ask yourself this question, is this really serving me? Do I want to stay stuck? Do I want to see myself as incompetent or irresponsible? If the answer is no, then accept a different idea about you and tell yourself, I'm not an irresponsible person, and then act accordingly. Perhaps you have a fear of becoming irresponsible. When you become irresponsible, it is often because you just don't care. You don't care. That's what they're telling me. Okay? When you don't care about something, you tend to neglect it. Okay? When you neglect something, you are at a distance with it. So in the same way, you are neglecting yourself and thus at a distance with yourself. The self that wants you to practice more of who you are, not that which you are afraid of. So if you are afraid of becoming irresponsible, you're going to make sure that you throw a lot of responsibilities on your way just to make sure, God forbid, I don't become irresponsible. You will make that happen. You will have You will create a whole bunch of responsibilities for the fear that you to make sure that you don't become irresponsible, because when you have a lot of responsibilities, you're responsible. Okay. Pile number 3, you have too many responsibilities on your shoulders. You have too many responsibilities. Do you not care about you? I just heard, why should I care? Well, if you don't care about you, then who's going to care about you? I mean, yes, other people may care about you, but if you don't care about you, then you're going to reject how they care about you, because you don't care about you. Why don't you care about you? I don't know what to care for anymore. Decide. What do you want to care for? What do you want to care for? I want to care for my garden. Okay, create a garden. Care for it. Make it work for you. Create something that excites you. Before you know it, you're going to be doing the thing that excites you so much, and you're going to go, oh my God, look at the time. You won't even know where time goes, because you're going to be in the present. You're going to be in the moment. You can't be in the present and in the moment from this state. Okay? That whatever that is, that fear is going to block you. Fear of being insignificant, fear of becoming irresponsible, that fear is going to block you from fully blossoming. Okay? Now, are there irresponsible people? Generally not. You're generally not an irresponsible person, but it's the fear of becoming irresponsible. Somebody implanted you with a notion that you are irresponsible, or if you do this, that's not going to be responsible, or if you do this, that's very irresponsible for you. Being irresponsible is a terrible thing. Okay? So even though you are not irresponsible, you fear becoming irresponsible. Okay? Now, let's take it further. Let's say you are irresponsible. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to you if someone says you're responsible? There's a fear that's going to come up. What does it mean to me? Well, perhaps people telling me I'm not good enough, or they will reject me, or they will not love me, or they will not want anything to do with me. Okay? And there's various other versions. Okay? Do you know why you should care about yourself? Because you're a caring person. Because you are a caring person. So have something to care about. You. When you care about something, you find it valuable. What do we do with things we find valuable? We cherish it. Start cherishing you. Put a lot less effort to what other people want from you, to a lot more effort what you want from you. What do you want from you? Do you want to feel insignificant? I doubt it, because nobody wants to feel that way. It doesn't feel good. And here's the thing. You may feel insignificant, but it doesn't mean that you are insignificant. How can you be insignificant? You're enormous. You're part of everything that exists. Now, your 3D human mind is going to have difficulty with that, but you are more than the human mind. You are more than the mind that's creating these thoughts and hearing this right now. You're more than that. Your consciousness, you're an awareness. You're extraordinary. Hold yourself in higher regard. You don't feel you're important? Look at all the responsibilities you have. Which means others rely on you, which means they deem you important. They give you things that they trust you with. What does that say? You're a valuable person. You don't have to prove it. You're not valuable because you're doing. You're valuable just because you are. You do it because you love, hopefully, to do what you do. Don't do things for other people because they want you to do it, or you think they want you to do it, and that's how you create, how you find love, how you find appreciation. Do it because you desire to do it, and it makes you happy. Now, sometimes we resort to doing things that don't make us happy, but on some level, we're making a choice because it serves us and benefits us in some way. Everything always benefits you. Try looking for value in everything that you do and everything that you are being. There's value in everything. There's no such thing as you having no value. It cannot possibly exist. It's impossible. It's absurd. So if you are battling with your own value system or your worth, I believe that was pile number 2, if I'm not mistaken. Also talked about that a little bit. You might want to check in. Keep your value consistent based on what you think about yourself, not how you think other people perceive you. Are you afraid that other people perceive you a certain way? It doesn't mean that they perceive you a certain way. You perceive yourself that way, and you're afraid that they're going to perceive you the way you perceive you. Let's look at how you perceive yourself. How do you perceive yourself, pile number 3? In terms of your responsibilities, what you can do, what you can't do, what you're supposed to, not supposed to. Ask yourself this question: what am I about? What are you about? Remember, you are a story. You are living a story. You are recreating this story into your conscious awareness and 3D experience. What you believe you are, what you deem yourself to be, you will be experiencing that in your 3D reality. Okay? Don't pretend that you are happy. Be happy. Be happy. Pretending simply is you denying something that is obvious. If you're not happy, allow yourself to acknowledge, I'm not happy right now. Okay, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Boom, there it is. Okay, let's deal with it. What part of you is unhappy? And why is it unhappy? What's missing? What's missing? What's not happening? What's missing? Let that part of you speak to you. Find a solution, find a resolution. Don't pretend to be happy and say, no, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. But internally you're like, that ain't good for your body or your heart. So some of you, pile number 3, you're good at stuffing your feelings. Something that creates a lot of pressure in your chest, potentially expressing itself as anxiety. Okay. Now, if you look at this image, and this person is kind of stuck in this cave with little opening, and it's dark, that would stress me out. That would freak me out. I would feel completely closed off. So that's number 1. Number 2, all that glitters. This is an interesting message. I'm just going to tune in to this. Completely not what I expected, but here it is. Let the tears flow. Pile number 3, you need to experience some emotional release. You need to talk to somebody, talk about your fears, and it feels like the feeling has to get activated. The feeling has to get activated. Now, this is hard because many people, maybe even most, don't like activating the very things they've been trying to suppress, sometimes for years. But remember, we are in a process of rising up and letting go of ancestral lineages with respect to our beliefs and the systems that are limiting us. Okay? So if you're used to stuffing your feelings and there is a feeling that you are stuffing, it is very important for you to allow yourself to express this feeling, whether it's through talking, whether it's through crying, whether it's through inner dialogue, inner dialect, having someone help you, inner child work, shadow work, because there is a tremendous level pressure that I feel in your body, and it just wants to feel released or be released. And I feel that whoever this is that I'm speaking with, you probably shouldn't do it alone. Is it because it's danger? I wouldn't say it's danger. It's you want someone who's going to be able to, figuratively speaking, grab your hand, hold the energy so that you can unravel. Okay. Otherwise, you're not going to feel safe doing that. Okay. Because think of it this way, and that's just an example. Imagine having a massive anxiety spell and you're alone versus having the spell but someone being there for you, holding your head and saying, I've got you, it's okay, this is what's happening, it's all good. Okay. Release. Big releasing old traumas. Yeah. Again, I'm seeing in some other timeline, maybe in this timeline for some of you, a small child being taken away from a person, and then that person the child was taken away from just goes and disappears. I feel like for some of you had an absent father figure, or your mom or parent took you away from the other parent, and what happened was that parent became less and less present in your life, and for some of you, you've developed animosity towards that person. I can feel it. Oh, it limits you and it affects your trust. Okay. It affects your trust perhaps as a parent. It affects your trust towards another person, relationships. It's a big one. Okay. Again, totally not what I'm expecting from this image. Is there anything else? I just heard, I see you. I see you. I see you. Some of you have a fear of not being seen, not being recognized, not being acknowledged, not being validated. Perhaps it was because of the parent that eventually disappeared. And that's creating a conflict in your life, or it has created conflicts in your life. And it is a pattern you likely don't want to repeat. Okay? Because let's face it, it's not very pleasant. Okay? Constantly living in the fear that someone is going to be taken away from you or walk out on you. And by the way, you likely don't even have it in your awareness, in your conscious awareness. It's all subconscious, but it affects your overall energy because it is a fear. Okay? And that fear produces symptoms like worries and things like that. Okay? So, last but not least, empowerment. It's telling me that you guys are moving into a space where you are coming out of disempowerment and regaining your power and effectively into more empowerment. If that isn't a time or message of celebration or time for celebration, I don't know what is. My entire work as Joanna with my team is all about people realizing their own power. So you're in the process of this. That's profound. Not only your sacral chakra is healing, but also your throat, because your fears affect how you speak, how you communicate, what you communicate, what you want to communicate, and what you hold back. Remember, I was saying earlier, you're likely someone who stuffs their feelings. Okay? At the center of everything is basically the idea of survival, safety. Okay? We try to prevent our worst fears because that's how we are trying to keep ourselves safe. Okay? And that creates distance between us and other people. So you are likely experiencing or have experienced distances in your relationships, and I feel it's because for many of you, you are afraid of letting people in. You're afraid of letting people come close to you. You just don't want them to disappoint you. You don't want to be left, so you keep yourself kind of at arm's length. Some people may find you cold. You are not soft and fuzzy, that you are cold. You're very, very airy, very metal. That's all protection for the most part. I mean, yes, some of it is personality, but most of what I'm seeing, it's just not wanting to get close. So you may actually be someone who complains about not having a lot of people around you, but for some of you, you are using it as an armor for people not to come close to you. You might want to look at that, because you want to clear that ancestral trauma. You don't want to carry that forward anymore, but remember, not only are you changing your life, you're changing those connections that came before you, but also those who will come after you. There was the generations after you won't have to deal with what you've dealt with. The frequency of empowerment supports our ability to show up fully and completely, uniting us with others in a deep trust that we all are connected through the same source. Beautiful pile number 3. That's enormous. I love it. That's it for pile number 3. Thank you all so much for listening. I would love for you to share this video and to share, subscribe, click the notification button. Help me share this channel. I look forward to your comments. Let me know how this transmission went. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon.